Now, I'm going to ask questions about Jane and Anne. Are Jane and Anne overweight?
Or Jane and Anne overweight?
No, Jane and Anne aren't overweight.
No, Jane and
Are
Anne
they
aren't
slim?
overweight. Are they slim?
Yes, they're slim.
Yes, they're slim.
Are they slim or overweight?
Are they slim or overweight?
They're slim.
They're slim.
2 years ago, were they slim?
2 years ago, were they slim?
No, they weren't slim 2 years ago.
No, they weren't slim
2
2
years
years
ago,
ago.
were they slim or overweight?
2 years ago, were they slim or overweight?
2 years ago, they were overweight.
2 years ago, they were
Are they still
overweight.
overweight now?
Are they overweight now?
No, they aren't. Now,
No,
they're
they
no
aren't.
longer overweight.
No, they aren't.
They used to be overweight.
They are no longer overweight.
Yes, that's correct. They used to be overweight.
They used to be overweight?
When were
yes,
they
that's
overweight?
Correct. They used to be overweight.
They were overweight 2 years ago.
They were overweight 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago, were Jane and Anne both overweight?
2 years ago, were Jane and Anne both overweight?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes,
Two
that's
years
correct.
ago, Jane and Anne were both overweight.
2 years ago, Jane and Anne
Were they equally
were
overweight?
both overweight. Were they
No, they
overweight?
weren't equally overweight.
Were
One
they
of them
equally
was
overweight?
more overweight
No,
than
they
the other.
wasn't equally
Was
overweight.
Anne
One
more
of
overweight
them
than Jane?
was more overweight than the other.
No, Anne wasn't more overweight than Jane.
Was
Who was
Anne
more overweight than the other?
Who was overweight than the other?
Jane was more overweight than Anne.
Jane was overweight.
Were
than
Jane
Anne.
a little overweight or very overweight?
Were Jane a little overweight or
Well,
very overweight?
Jane was very overweight.
Well, Jane
What
was
about Anne?
very
Was
overweight.
Anne a little overweight or very overweight?
What about Anne? Was Anne a little overweight or very
Anne
overweight?
was a little overweight.
Anne was little overweight.
Tell me again.
Tell me
Who was
again.
more overweight than the other?
Who was more overweight than the other?
Jane was more overweight than Anne.
Jane was more overweight
Is Jane
than
still
Anne.
overweight? No, Jane is no longer overweight.
Is Jane
Is Anne still overweight?
No, Jane is no longer overweight.
No,
Is
Anne is
Anne
no
still
longer overweight.
No, Anne
Did Jane and
is
Anne
no longer
used to be
overweight.
overweight?
Jane and Anne used to be overweight.
Yes, Jane and Anne used to be overweight.
Yes, Jane and Anne
When were they overweight?
used to be overweight. When were they
They
overweight?
were overweight 2 years ago.
They were overweight 2 years ago.
How overweight were they?
How overweight were they?
Well, Jane was very overweight, and Anne was a little overweight.
Well, Jane was very overweight, and Anne
Now,
was
I'm going to
little
ask
overweight.
questions about Kay and her brother Tom. When Kay and Tom were little, do they think Superman was real?
When Kay and Tom were little, did they think Santa Claus was
No,
real?
they didn't think Superman was real when they were little.
No, they didn't think the
Who did they
Superman
think
was
real when they were little?
Who did they think the Superman was
When they
real?
were little, they thought Santa Claus was real.
When they were little,
Did they think zombie was
thought
real?
Santa Claus was real.
No, they didn't think zombie was real.
Did they think zombies
Who does it
were
think
real?
was real?
No, they didn't think the zombie wasn't real.
They thought Santa Claus was real.
What did they think who was real? They thought Santa Claus was real.
When Tom was a boy, did he have a friend named Nick?
When Tom was a boy, did he have
Yes, that's correct.
a friend named Nick?
When Tom was a boy, he had a friend named Nick.
Yes, that's correct.
What
When
did
Tom
Nick
was
tell
a
him
boy,
one day?
he had the friend named Nick. What did he
One
tell
day,
him about
Nick
what?
told him that Santa Claus wasn't real.
What did Nick tell him one day? Nick told him that the Santa Claus wasn't real.
Did Nick tell him that Superman wasn't real?
Did Nick tell him that the Superman wasn't real?
No, Nick didn't tell him that Superman wasn't real.
No, Nick didn't.
Did Nick tell him that
that
zombies
the
weren't
Superman
real?
wasn't real? Did Nick tell him that?
No, Nick didn't tell him that zombies weren't real.
Did Nick tell him that the zombies wasn't real? No, Nick didn't tell him that the zombies wasn't real.
What did Nick tell him?
What did Nick tell him?
Nick told him that Santa Claus wasn't real.
Nick told him that the Santa Claus wasn't real.
When Tom realized that Santa Claus wasn't real, did he feel angry?
When Tom realized the Santa Claus wasn't real, did he feel angry?
No, that's not how we felt.
No, that's
when
not
Tom realized that
how
Santa
he
wasn't
felt.
real, he didn't feel angry.
When Tom realized
Did he
the
feel
Santa Claus
embarrassed?
wasn't real, Tom didn't feel
No, he didn't
angry.
feel embarrassed. How did he feel?
Did he feel embarrassed? No, he didn't feel embarrassed. How did he feel?
He felt surprised and sad at the same time.
He felt surprised
Who
and
was surprised
sad
and sad at the same time?
Who was surprised and sad at the same time?
It was Tom. Tom was
It
surprised
was
and
Tom.
sad at the same time.
Tom was surprised and sad at the same time.
When Tom got home that day, what did he do?
When Tom got home that day, what did he do?
When Tom got home that day, he told Kate that Santa didn't actually exist.
When Tom got home that day,
Did he tell
told
Kate that the parents
Santa
were
didn't
sick?
actually exist.
No, he didn't tell Kate that the parents were sick.
Did he tell Kate that the parents were sick? No, he didn't tell Kate that their parents were sick.
Did he tell Kate that ghosts didn't actually exist?
Did he tell Kate that the ghost didn't actually exist?
No, he didn't tell Kate that ghosts didn't actually exist.
No, he didn't tell Kate that the ghost didn't actually exist.
What did he tell Kate?
What did he tell Kate?
He told Kate that Santa didn't actually exist.
He told Kate that Santa didn't actually exist.
When Kate realized that Santa didn't exist, did she laugh?
When Kate realized the Santa didn't actually exist, did she laugh?
No. Kate did laugh when she realized that Santa didn't exist.
No, Kate didn't
What
laugh
happened when she realized that Santa didn't
the
exist?
Santa didn't actually exist.
Ghosts didn't actually exist. Santa didn't exist. When she realized that Santa didn't exist, she cried for almost an hour.
When she realized the Santa didn't actually exist, what did she do? When she realized the Santa didn't actually exist, she cried for almost an hour.
Did she cry for just a few minutes?
Did she cry for just a few minutes?
No, she didn't cry for just a few minutes.
No, she didn't cry
How long
for
did she
just
cry?
a few minutes. How long did she cry?
She cried for almost an hour.
She cried for almost
Was it
an
Tom who
hour.
cried for almost an hour?
Did she cry for almost an hour?
No, it wasn't Tom who cried for almost an hour.
Did Tom cry for almost an hour? No, Tom didn't cry for almost an hour.
Who cried for almost an hour?
Who cried for almost an hour?
It was Kate. Kate
It
cried
was
for almost
Kate.
an hour.
Kate cried for almost an hour.
Now, I'm going to ask questions about two sisters named Grace and Emma. Do Grace and Emma have pets?
Do Grace and Emma have a pet?
Yes, Grace and Emma have pets.
Yes, Grace and Emma
Are
have
their pets
pets.
dogs?
Are their pets dogs?
No, their pets aren't dogs.
No, their pets
Are
aren't
their pets
dogs.
cats?
Are their pets cats?
No, their pets aren't cats.
No, their pets aren't cats.
What kind of animal are their pets?
What kind of animal are their cats?
Their
their
pets
pets?
are spiders.
Their pets are
How
spiders.
many spiders do they have?
How many spiders do they have?
They have 3 spiders.
They have 3
Do they think
spiders.
their spiders are scary? They have 3 spiders. Do they think their spiders are scary?
Do they think their spiders
No,
are scary?
they don't think their spiders are scary.
No, they don't
What do they
think
think
the
about their
spiders
spiders?
are scary. What do
Well, they think their spiders are cute.
What do they think the spider? They think the spiders are cute.
When Grace and Emma were young, were they afraid of birds?
When Grace and Emma were young,
No, they
were
weren't
they
afraid of birds when
birds?
they were young.
No, they
Were they
weren't
afraid of
birds
dogs?
when they were young. Were they afraid of dogs?
No, they weren't afraid of dogs.
No, they wasn't
What were they
afraid of
afraid of?
dogs. What were they afraid of?
They were afraid of spiders.
They were afraid of spiders.
When they were young, did they think spiders were cute?
When they were young, did they think the spiders were cute?
No, they didn't think spiders were cute when they were young.
No, they didn't think the
Did they think
spiders
spiders
were
were
cute when they were
interesting?
young. Did they think the spiders were
No,
interesting?
they didn't think spiders were interesting.
No, they didn't think the spiders
What did they
were
think
interesting.
about spiders?
What did they think about the spiders?
They thought spiders were really scary.
They thought the spiders
Who
were
thought
really
spiders were
scary.
scary?
Who thought the spider were really scary?
Grace and Emma thought spiders were scary.
Grace and Emma thought the spider was really scary.
Did Grace and Emma watch a cartoon one day?
Did Grace and Emma watch a cartoon one day?
Yes, they did. Grace
they
and
did.
Emma watched a cartoon one day.
Grace and Emma watched
Was the
a
cartoon about
one day.
dogs?
What a cartoon about dogs?
No, the
Was the
cartoon
cartoon about
wasn't
dogs?
about dogs.
No, the cartoon wasn't about
Was the
dogs.
cartoon about cats?
Was the cartoon about cats?
No, the cartoon wasn't about cats
No,
either.
the cartoon wasn't about cats
What was
either.
the cartoon about?
What about
The cartoon was about spiders.
The cartoon about?
Were there
The
spiders in the
were
cartoon?
about the spiders.
Yes, there were spiders in a cartoon.
Were the spider in the cartoon? Yes, there were spiders in the cartoon.
While watching the cartoon, did they feel bored?
While watching a cartoon, did they feel...
No, they didn't feel bored while watching the cartoon. Was the What was the cartoon about?
What was the cartoon about?
The cartoon was about spiders.
The cartoon
Were there
was
spiders
about
in the
of
cartoon?
spiders. Were there
Yes,
the spider
there were
in
spiders
the
in
cartoon?
a cartoon.
Yes, there were the spiders in the cartoon.
While watching the cartoon, did they feel bored?
While watching the cartoon, did they feel...
No,
bored?
they didn't feel bored while watching the cartoon.
No, they didn't feel
Was the cartoon
bored
boring?
when they while they watching a cartoon.
No, the cartoon wasn't boring. Was the cartoon funny?
Boring? No, the cartoon wasn't
Yes, the
boring.
cartoon was funny.
Was the cartoon
Was the spiders
funny?
in the cartoon
Yes, the cartoon
scary?
was funny.
No, the spiders in the cartoon weren't scary.
Were the spiders in the cartoon funny? No, the spiders in the cartoon wasn't scary.
Were the spiders in the cartoon cute?
Were the spiders in the cartoon cute?
Yes, the spiders in the cartoon were cute.
Yes, the spiders in the cartoon were cute.
Before they watched the cartoon, were they afraid of spiders?
Before they watched the cartoon,
Yes, that's
were
correct. Before they
scared.
watched the cartoon, they were afraid of spiders. What happened
Before they watched the cartoon, were they afraid of spiders? Yes, that's correct. Before they watched a cartoon, they were afraid of spiders.
happened after they watched the cartoon?
How did they feel after they watched the cartoon?
Were they afraid of spiders? After they watched the cartoon, the fear of spider was completely gone.
After they watched the cartoon,
After they watched the
the
cartoon,
fear of
were
spiders
they still
was
afraid of
completely
spiders?
gone. After they watched the cartoon, were their fear of spiders
No, they weren't.
completely
After
gone?
they watched the cartoon, they were no longer afraid of spiders. What happened after they watched the cartoon?
What happened after they watched the cartoon?
After they watched the cartoon, the fear of spider was completely gone.
After they watched the cartoon,
After they
their
watched
fear
the
of spiders
cartoon,
wasn't
were they still afraid of
completely gone.
spiders? What happened after they watched the cartoon? After they watched the cartoon, the fear of spider was completely gone. After they watched the cartoon, were they still afraid of spiders?
After they watched the cartoon, did they fear of spiders?
No, they weren't.
Afraid of spiders?
After they watched the cartoon, they were no longer afraid of spiders.
No, there aren't.
Was the
After
fear of
they
spiders
watched the
completely
cartoon,
gone?
they were no longer afraid
Yes,
of
that's correct.
spiders.
The fear of spiders was completely gone.
Were their fear of spiders completely gone? Yes, that's correct. Their fear of the spiders was completely gone.